This nigga shot my daughter. He shot my daughter. He shot me. He needs to go to jail.
Now to a developing story. The man accused of shooting and killing a 9-year-old girl last week in the Heights made his first court appearance.
22-year-old Jeremiah Jones faces a capital murder charge as well as aggravated assault. Kathy Hernandez joining us live from downtown Houston with more on what took place inside the courtroom. Kathy?
Good morning to you. Jeremiah Jones appeared before a judge at about 9:30 this morning. That's where the judge denied his bond despite request from his attorney. 22-year-old Jones stood before the judge wearing a yellow jumpsuit. He is charged with capital murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The prosecutor laid out the alarming accusations against him. He's accused of shooting his ex-girlfriend and her 9-year-old daughter, Brittany Sorrells, at their home on Oxford on June 13th. Kylie died at a hospital. Prosecutors say Jones was upset the mother had broken up with him 2 months before and had even threatened to kill her the week before. And at the time of that shooting, Jones was out on bond for evading arrest. He had also violated a protective order a different woman had filed against him. He also has a very extensive criminal history stemming back from when he was only 12 years old.
On June 13, 2022, in Houston, Texas, a devastating tragedy unfolded for a mother and her family. 9-year-old Brittany Sorrells was enjoying a movie night in bed with her mother and siblings when their peaceful evening was shattered. An intruder entered their apartment, proceeded to the bedroom where the children were, and fired 2 shots. One bullet struck Brittany in the head, fatally wounding her. The perpetrator was Jeremiah Jones, the former boyfriend of Brittany Sorrells, Brittany's mother, whose 8-month relationship had ended 2 months earlier. After shooting Brittany, Jones confronted Brittany, forced her to the floor at gunpoint, and shot her in the shoulder before fleeing. Despite her injury, Brittany summoned help. Emergency services rushed both victims to hospitals, but Brittany could not be saved and was pronounced dead soon after arriving. This act was not random or unforeseen. It was a calculated act of vengeance against Brittany for ending their relationship. What makes this tragedy even more heart-wrenching is that Brittany followed all recommended steps for victims of domestic abuse. She terminated the relationship, lodged multiple complaints, and obtained a restraining order. Just 1 week before the tragedy, she reported that Jones had shown up at her apartment armed and threatened her life. Authorities were aware of Jones's dangerous nature as his criminal history dated back to age 12. At the time of Brittany's death, he was out on 5 separate bonds in Harris County, one for illegally possessing a firearm as a felon, granted just 2 weeks prior. Every protective measure meant to safeguard this family failed. A vibrant 9-year-old who loved basketball and creating TikTok videos was lost forever. Her 2 younger siblings witnessed the horrific event, and Brittany now bears both physical scars from her wound and the enduring emotional trauma of that night. This narrative explores not only the events of that tragic June night, but also the reasons it was allowed to occur. How could a man with a documented history of violence who had threatened his ex-girlfriend's life days earlier remain free to act on those threats? What systemic breakdowns permitted this preventable tragedy? Most critically, what reforms could prevent another child from suffering Brittany's fate? These questions are vital not only for the Sorrells family, but for countless others facing similar dangers nationwide. Data from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence indicates that a gun in a domestic violence scenario increases the likelihood of murder by 500%. Yet systems frequently fail to recognize these warning signs before it's too late. Brittany Sorrells was far more than a statistic or a victim. At just 9 years old, she radiated a lively personality and passions that hinted at the extraordinary person she could have become. At Windsor Village Elementary School in Houston, Brittany was recognized for her radiant smile and engaging demeanor. Her teachers noted her attentiveness and enthusiasm, describing her as a student who eagerly participated in class and displayed a natural curiosity about the world. Outside of school, Kylie thrived on the basketball court, where she found a haven to channel her energy, build discipline, and revel in teamwork. Her athletic talent was clear early on, but her commitment to improvement, practicing her dribbling, shooting, and defense, set her apart for someone so young. Her love for basketball brought her to the Houston Police Department's Police Activities League, HPD PAL, program, which fosters positive connections between youth and law enforcement through sports. There, Kylie found not only coaches but mentors who recognized her potential both on and off the court. The program became a cornerstone of her identity, providing structure, guidance, and a sense of community. HPD PAL staff recall Kylie's determination and her knack for uplifting teammates. She was often the first to cheer for others and the last to quit during tough moments. Her loss deeply affected the program, with officers who knew her expressing profound sorrow. At home, Kylie embraced her role as the eldest of 3 sisters, aged 7 and 1. She naturally took on a caring and protective role, helping with homework, inventing games to keep them entertained, and assisting her mother, Brittany, with chores without being prompted. Like many kids her age, Kylie loved TikTok, where she created dance videos, often including her 7-year-old sister in choreographed routines. These videos, saved on Brittany's phone, preserve moments of pure joy, Kylie laughing, being playful, and expressing herself through dance and music. Kylie shared a deep bond with her mother, Brittany, a single parent who worked tirelessly to provide stability and opportunities for her 3 daughters despite financial challenges. Brittany prioritized their education, enrolled Kylie in sports programs, and fostered a warm home environment. Neighbors often saw Brittany and Kylie walking to and from school, engrossed in conversations about their day. Friends and family described their relationship as one of mutual respect and true companionship. Kylie, aware of her mother's struggles, often left small notes of encouragement around the apartment. Simple messages like, "You're the best mom," or heart-filled drawings labeled for her mother. These acts reflected Kylie's growing empathy and emotional intelligence, qualities that suggested a future dedicated to helping others. On June 13, 2022, Kylie was sharing a typical family moment, snuggled up with her mother and siblings, watching a movie in bed, a comforting end to a long day. The normalcy of this scene makes the ensuing tragedy even more devastating. Kylie's death represents not just the loss of a young life, but the erasure of all her potential. Unplayed basketball games, an unattained high school diploma, an unfulfilled career, and perhaps a family of her own never started. A radiant spirit was extinguished far too soon. When addressing violent crimes, especially those involving children, there's a risk of reducing victims to their tragic fates. But Kylie Sorrells should be remembered for her vibrant life, full of joy, purpose, and love, not just for how it ended. Jeremiah Jones's entanglement with the criminal justice system began at age 12. What could have been seen as youthful misbehavior marked the start of a persistent pattern. By 2022, at 22 years old, Jones had amassed a significant criminal record reflecting escalating violence. His adult offenses included evading police in a vehicle, issuing terroristic threats against family members, burglary, theft, and trespassing. These weren't one-off events, but a steady pattern of disregard for the law and others' safety. Each charge signaled potential harm, with his terroristic threats particularly revealing a readiness to intimidate and instill fear in those close to him. Court records indicate Jones struggled with the legal obligations, repeatedly violating conditions of prior releases and showing consistent non-compliance with court orders, including breaching a protective order issued by another woman before his relationship with Brittany. This history clearly outlined an individual posing significant risks for violence, information fully accessible to the justice system through his well-documented record across multiple courts over years. Brittany Sorrells met Jeremiah Jones in August 2021. Their relationship, initially appearing normal, lasted about 8 months, though public records don't clarify how they connected. Jones spent time at Brittany's apartment, home to her 3 daughters, including Kylie. For a period, they operated as a blended family, with Jones occasionally staying over and joining in family activities. However, friends soon noticed troubling signs. Brittany grew more reserved and anxious when discussing her relationship. Text messages later reviewed by investigators revealed Jones's controlling tendencies, such as demanding to know Brittany's whereabouts and questioning her interactions with other men. These tensions were hidden from outsiders. Brittany later told police that Jones displayed possessive behavior several months into their relationship, particularly about her phone use and social contacts. Family members reported that he sometimes took her phone without permission to check her messages and expressed jealousy over her focus on parenting, complaining she spent too much time with her children. This attitude toward a mother prioritizing her young daughters was alarming. By April 2022, Brittany decided to end the relationship after multiple instances of controlling and verbally aggressive behavior. Court documents show she clearly told Jones it was over and requested no further contact. Jones did not accept the breakup calmly. Brittany reported to police that he sought to maintain control through intimidation, calling and texting her dozens of times daily with messages swinging between pleas for reconciliation and veiled threats. When digital harassment wasn't enough, Jones began showing up uninvited at Brittany's workplace and apartment, demonstrating a refusal to respect boundaries and a determination to stay in her life. Brittany took protective steps. She changed her phone number, altered her work schedule, alerted building security about potential unwanted visits, and pursued formal legal protection. The 2 months following the breakup saw escalating aggression from Jones. Friends noted Brittany's growing caution, always checking her surroundings and hesitating to maintain her usual routines, clear signs she recognized the real danger posed by Jones. At the time of Kylie's murder, Jones was free on 5 separate bonds in Harris County, including one granted just 2 weeks earlier for possessing a firearm as a felon. These releases occurred despite clear evidence of his ongoing threat to public safety. His history of violating protective orders should have prompted closer scrutiny of his bond requests, yet his cases were treated routinely. The repeated releases of Jones highlighted deep flaws in bail decision-making. Risk assessment tools meant to flag likely reoffenders were either underutilized or ignored. Court records show Jones frequently missed scheduled hearings for prior charges, a factor typically weighed in bond decisions. But these red flags were overlooked. The bond system's reliance on financial payments allowed Jones to secure release by paying bondsmen without adequate evaluation of the danger he posed to individuals or the community. This cycle of arrest and release enabled Jones to remain free despite clear signs of increasing danger. 1 week before Kylie's murder, a critical escalation occurred. On or around June 6, 2022, Jones appeared uninvited at Brittany's apartment complex on Oxford Street, Houston, armed with a gun. During this confrontation, he explicitly threatened to kill her, a clear and direct statement confirmed by witnesses. This act elevated his behavior from harassment to an immediate life-threatening danger. Terrified yet resolute, Brittany reported the incident to the Houston Police Department, detailing Jones's armed appearance and death threat. This report was added to her existing file, which already documented his prior threatening behavior. The June 6th incident was a classic high-risk indicator, as domestic violence experts note that an abuser's use of a weapon significantly heightens the risk of lethal violence. National domestic violence. Hotline statistics show a 500% increased homicide risk when firearms are involved. Since the April breakup, Brittany had diligently used available legal protections. She filed complaints documenting Jones's harassment, secured a restraining order barring him from contacting her or approaching her home, and consistently reported violations, including unwanted calls, texts, and visits. The restraining order explicitly prohibited Jones from coming within 500 feet of Brittany's residence, contacting her or her children, or possessing a firearm, a restriction reinforced by his felon status. The June 6th incident, involving both a restraining order violation and an armed death threat, was her most urgent report. Brittany followed every recommended step for domestic violence victims, creating a paper trail, seeking legal protection, and communicating with law enforcement. Despite her efforts, the protective system failed her and her children at multiple levels. The restraining order, though legally binding, lacked proactive enforcement, serving only as a basis for punishment after a violation, not a preventive barrier. No immediate action was taken to apprehend Jones after his June 6th armed threat, leaving him free for a full week before the murder, despite documented escalation. His status as a felon possessing a firearm, a serious federal offense, did not prompt urgent action, even though he had been released on bond for this charge just 2 weeks earlier. Information sharing across the justice system was inadequate. Officers responding to Brittany's June 6th report may not have had immediate access to Jones's full criminal history or bond status, hindering their ability to assess the threat's severity. Finally, Brittany was not offered emergency housing or enhanced protection despite clear danger signals. June 13, 2022 started as a typical Monday for the Sorrells family. Brittany, 29, had tucked her 3 daughters, Kylie, 9, and her sisters, 7 and 1, into bed early. They were cozied up in the main bedroom of their apartment at 404 Oxford Street, Houston, watching a movie. The warm June night was typical for Houston. Around 10 p.m., their tranquility was destroyed when Jeremiah Jones entered through an unlocked front door, left unsecured because Brittany's cousin had been moving items in and out that day. Court documents describe Jones moving swiftly and intentionally through the apartment. He first demanded a television he claimed was his, ripping it from the wall mount and damaging both the TV and the wall. He then turned to Brittany, demanding her phone and accusing her of seeing another man, an unfounded claim per Brittany's later police statements, reflecting the jealousy and control that marked their relationship. Trying to calm the situation, Brittany handed over her phone, fully aware her children were nearby in the bedroom. Their brief argument in the apartment's front area grew increasingly heated. Then, Jones suddenly stopped and headed toward the bedroom where Kylie and her sisters were. Brittany, frozen with fear and unsure of his intentions, later recounted her dread. Moments later, 2 gunshots echoed from the bedroom. Jones returned, silently forced Brittany to the floor at gunpoint, and shot her in the shoulder before fleeing into the night. Despite her wound and terror, Brittany's maternal instincts propelled her to act. Clutching her bleeding shoulder, she reached her phone and called 911, her desperate call capturing the moment's horror. "He shot my daughter. He shot my daughter. He shot me. He needs to go to jail. He shot my baby. Please hurry." Houston police arrived quickly, followed by paramedics. They found Brittany conscious but bleeding heavily. In the bedroom, Kylie had a gunshot wound to her head, with her younger sisters physically unharmed but traumatized nearby. Paramedics began life-saving efforts on Kylie, stabilizing her for transport, while others treated Brittany's wound. The apartment was secured as a crime scene, with officers collecting evidence and taking Brittany's initial statements. Kylie was rushed to Texas Children's Hospital and Brittany to Ben Taub Hospital. Medical teams fought to save Kylie, but her head wound was catastrophic. She was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. At Ben Taub, surgeons treated Brittany's shoulder injury, which caused significant tissue damage but spared major arteries. After surgery to remove bullet fragments and repair the wound, Brittany was stabilized and informed of her daughter's death. Family members gathered in the hospital waiting room with Kylie's grandmother, Brittany Sorrells, arriving to a forever altered family.
It's just a hurtful process at this time, and we're devastated.
In fact, Brittany Sorrells says her heart is broken after her daughter Brittany was shot in the shoulder and survived, and her granddaughter Kylie was shot in the head and killed.
It's a nightmare. Not sleeping, not eating.
The beautiful 9-year-old, as you can see here, loved basketball and goofing off.
Hospital staff provided a private space for Brittany, still recovering, to grieve with loved ones. Social workers and victim advocates assisted with immediate needs, including funeral arrangements. Brittany's younger daughters were temporarily taken into Child Protective Services custody for safety while family arranged their care. Having witnessed their sister's murder, the girls needed specialized trauma support. The Houston police identified Jones as the suspect based on Brittany's statements and prior reports, issuing a citywide alert labeling him armed and dangerous. The Homicide Division worked overnight, collecting crime scene evidence, interviewing witnesses, and tracking Jones's movements. By morning, leads on his location emerged, and HPD's SWAT team was deployed for a carefully planned arrest given his violent history and firearm possession. On June 14, 2022, less than 24 hours after the murder, SWAT officers apprehended Jones near Spring, Texas, north of Houston, without incident. He was carrying a gun, later confirmed as the murder weapon through ballistics. Transported to Houston Police Headquarters, Jones was charged with capital murder for Kylie's death and aggravated assault for shooting Brittany. Given the charge's severity and his criminal history, he was held without bond pending his court appearance. After his June 14, 2022, arrest, Jeremiah Jones faced Texas's stringent justice system. He was charged with capital murder for Kylie's death and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for shooting Brittany. In Texas, capital murder of a child under 10 carries possible penalties of life without parole or the death penalty. On June 21, 2022, a judge denied bond, citing the charge's gravity and Jones's extensive record. Prosecutors presented evidence, including the recovered firearm, ballistic matches, and Brittany's eyewitness testimony identifying Jones. Pre-trial hearings addressed evidence, witness statements, and procedures. Jones's defense challenged evidence collection but was overruled when prosecutors showed proper protocol was followed. As the case moved toward trial, the district attorney's office consulted Brittany and her family on pursuing the death penalty, a decision weighing their grief against their beliefs about capital punishment. Their input shaped the prosecution's strategy. Due to Texas's lengthy appeals process for capital cases, resolution will take years, but early proceedings underscored the crime's seriousness. For Brittany's family, no outcome could replace their loss. Following Kylie's death, her grandmother, Brittany Sorrells, channeled her grief into advocacy, pushing for legislative change dubbed Kylie's Law. The proposal targets 3 areas: strengthening responses to violent threats, enhancing interagency information sharing, and bolstering protective order enforcement. Tracy's mission stems from the belief that a different response to Jones's June 6th armed threat could have saved Kylie. She called 911. She reported the threats. "Things have to change," Tracy told reporters at a press conference. "A death threat with a gun should be treated as a violent act, not mere words." Her proposal would classify explicit armed death threats as violent offenses, mandating immediate action and bond revocation hearings for those already on bond. Supported by domestic violence prevention groups, law enforcement reform advocates, and child safety organizations, Tracy's coalition is pushing the legislation in the Texas legislature. Experts suggest additional reforms to prevent such tragedies. The bail system needs an overhaul, prioritizing public safety over financial ability, with focus on escalating behavior patterns. Protective orders require stronger enforcement mechanisms, such as real-time monitoring and dedicated units, to become true safeguards rather than mere documentation. Integrated information systems across courts, police, and victim services would prevent offenders like Jones from slipping through gaps. Victims need robust protection options like emergency housing and relocation support when threats escalate. Kylie Sorrells should be alive today, gearing up for middle school, playing basketball, and filming TikTok videos with her sisters. Her death marks not just a personal tragedy, but a societal failure. Take action. Subscribe to this channel to stay informed about cases highlighting needed reforms. Share this video to raise awareness of protective system gaps and support organizations preventing domestic violence and protecting children. The best tribute to Kylie isn't flowers or teddy bears. It's building systems to protect the next child. Your voice, vote, and advocacy can drive that change, creating a legacy for Kylie where no other child faces her fate.